During a Capitol hearing to investigate ICE abuses, Representative Jasmine Crockett delivered an incisive and scathing interrogation about the killing of Renee Good in Minneapolis. Crockett spared no one. She accused the agency of ignoring constitutional protections, operating with total impunity, and traumatizing innocent civilians. She demanded accountability, real legal consequences, and urgent reforms in federal immigration law enforcement. What you're about to see is the moment when someone finally had the courage to confront the system. Live, unfiltered, unafraid.
Thank you, Senator. I'd like to now yield to Representative Crockett.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ranker. I am so frustrated. It is so hard to sit in allegedly power positions, yet see this happening in my country every single day. We are arguably the most powerful people, not just in this country, but in the world. Yet some of our colleagues have decided that they wanted to abdicate their oaths and their duties, and they have decided that instead of following the law or the Constitution, they want to follow a single man. There are those that say that our democracy hangs in the balance. With every passing day, I feel as if we are slipping further and further into a full-on dictatorship. When we live in a country where a journalist by the name of Don Lemon can be arrested, or Georgia Fort can be arrested. When we live in a country where a 5-year-old little boy, Liam Ramos, can be thrown in what looked like a penitentiary, because I did go and see him at Dilley facility, and the reality is that Liam's picture went viral. But there are so many children that are rotting away in that facility. And it seems like nobody cares. When we see what happened to Alex and Renee, and my colleagues are silent or they're in defense of what took place, I start to wonder, what is our purpose? If we are sitting here and we are seeing our Constitution desecrated at every single turn, and then when we have an opportunity in the minority as Democrats to say we are going to stop this, because it's not working out very well for the Republicans. In my state of Texas, they just flipped a seat where it swung 30 points. It's not working well for the Republicans when the Republican governor in Texas decides to say, well, maybe we're a little off track. It's not working well for the Republicans when Donald Trump steps in and says, well, let me go ahead and give you a sacrificial lamb by the name of Bovino. It's not working well for them. So we are in the best position that we could be in. Yet, and still, that package passed, and we gave a 2-week pass for them to continue to negotiate. My question is, what are we negotiating for? What is it that we're trying to get? Because we know that they already will ignore the law. The First, the Fourth, the Fifth, and the 14th Amendments have all been thrown out of the window by this administration. So, Mr. Stoughton, DHS's internal use of force policies are supposed to be guided by constitutional protections under the Fourth Amendment. Do you think that we're seeing that?
The policies on paper are fairly good. I do not see those being translated into practice.
In fact, we know that the opinion that was written by the judge that ordered the release of Liam and his father, it says this case has its genesis in the ill-conceived and incompetently implemented government pursuit of daily deportation quotas, apparently even if it requires traumatizing children. This court and others regularly send undocumented people to prison and orders them deported, but do so by proper legal procedures. Apparent also in the government's ignorance of an American historical document called the Declaration of Independence, 33-year-old Thomas Jefferson enumerated grievances against a would-be authoritarian king over our nascent nation. Among others were, he has sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people. He has excited domestic insurrection amongst us, for quartering large bodies of armed troops amongst us. He is kept amongst us in times of peace, standing armies without the consent of our legislature. We, the people, are hearing echoes of that history. And then there is this pesky inconvenience called the Fourth Amendment. Right now, I must say that the only branch that has not completely failed us is the judiciary. It is time for us to empower the people, people like you that have been traumatized by our government. We need to make sure that your lawyers can stand up and they can get money. They can go and get some type of justice, because if our president can sue our own federal government for $10 billion, then something tells me that maybe we need to loosen the reins around some of the protections that these officers have, so that y'all can go and get something, and maybe, just maybe, they will decide that it's not worth it to go out and traumatize its citizens. Thank you so much, and I will yield.
Let's contextualize what happened here, because this hearing didn't come out of nowhere. Jasmine Crockett, Democratic representative from Texas, used her time in Congress to do something that should be routine but has become exceptional: demand accountability from those who hold the power of life and death over vulnerable people. And she didn't go there to put on a show. She came with loaded constitutional ammunition. Her rhetorical strategy was surgical. Crockett didn't attack abstract policies. She brought names, faces, stories. Alex, Renee, a 5-year-old child. This isn't accidental. It's the difference between statistics and humanity. When you put names and ages on the victims, you force the audience, including the Republican congresspeople in the room, to deal with the real human cost of these operations. And notice, she wasn't just emotional, she was technically sharp. She cited the First, Fourth, Fifth, and 14th Amendments, the backbone of individual protection against state abuse. Now, why does this hearing matter now? Because we're living through a moment of extreme escalation in anti-immigration rhetoric and practice. Since the Trump administration, and continuing in different formats, there has been a normalization of tactics that, in any other context, would be considered authoritarian. Searches without warrants, family separation, prolonged detentions without access to counsel. And what Crockett is denouncing is that there's a dangerous gap between what official policy says on paper and what ICE agents do in practice. This gap isn't a bug. It's a feature. When you create a system where oversight is minimal, where agents have almost total immunity, and where the victims are people without political power, immigrants, many of them undocumented, you create the perfect environment for systemic abuse. And Crockett is connecting the dots. These aren't bad apples. It's the entire tree that's poisoned. Legislatively, what she's doing is pressing for something fundamental: that Congress exercise its oversight role. The executive branch cannot be a kingdom unto itself. ICE answers to the Department of Homeland Security, which answers to Congress, which answers to the people. When this chain of accountability breaks, you no longer have democracy, you have arbitrary power. And arbitrary power historically always ends the same way, with the weakest paying the price. Now, let me be crystal clear here. What's happening at the borders and in ICE detention facilities isn't national security, it's state terrorism. And I'm not being dramatic. When you detain a 5-year-old child, when you allow people to die in your custody without real investigation, when you systematically violate constitutional rights that should be inviolable, what do you call that? Law and order? Give me a break. The conservative hypocrisy on this issue is nauseating. The same people who wrap themselves in the American flag and cry about the Constitution are the first to shred the Fourth Amendment when it comes to a Latino family. The same people who scream due process when it suits them are the first to deny counsel to someone who crossed an imaginary line seeking survival. And don't come at me with illegal is illegal, because if it were really about following the law, ICE would be sued daily for constitutional violations. But it's not. Because when the victim is brown, poor, and voiceless, suddenly the Constitution becomes more of a suggestion than a law. And you know what else enrages me? The silent complicity. How many Republican congresspeople were at that hearing looking at the floor, avoiding Crockett's eyes? How many know exactly what's happening but choose political cynicism over human decency? Because defending immigrants doesn't win votes in the conservative base. So let them die. Let the child cry. Let the system implode. As long as I win my re-election, Renee Good is dead. And it wasn't an accident. It was the direct result of a system designed to dehumanize, to oppress, to punish poverty and desperation. And as long as we allow this to continue, as long as we normalize this level of cruelty, we're signing our own moral death certificate. This isn't just about immigration policy. It's about what kind of country we want to be. A country where the law protects the powerful and crushes the vulnerable, or a country where justice means justice for everyone, regardless of where you were born. So I ask you, how long will we accept that lives are treated as disposable statistics? Leave your answer in the comments.